Direct from Liverpool, the home of the 2023 Eurovision Song Contest, this is Pete from Euroversity. Let's talk about Armenia. So Armenia released their entry on YouTube at 6 o'clock UK time, 7 o'clock European time, and some ungodly hour in its own country early on this evening. So we're going to review it now. I've not heard the song before. I've seen a few tweets about it, and that is about it. As always, I'm going to be reacting and talking about the song afterwards because of the copyright issue. I don't react to the actual video, etc., etc. So this is Brunette with Future Lover. Well, what an interesting little song. As always, I write things down in felt tip because I'm a child. And the one thing I've written in the middle, and I won't show because my handwriting's appalling, is I was not expecting that song to progress the way that it did. I could not predict that the second verse would have absolutely no relation to the first verse at all. If you asked me how that song was going to go, that was not the way it was going to be. But what an interesting song. And the lyric, especially in the first verse, is actually really interesting. It reminded me, I've written it down, it reminded me of a sort of almost like a modern Victoria Wood type humdrum lyric about visiting bookstores and having smoothies. I don't mean to patronise anyone, but if there's anyone from outside the UK, and there might be, who knows, Victoria Wood was a comedian, but she used to do a lot of songs about the sort of humdrum nature of life and relationships. And the idea of Victoria Wood in the modern era doing a song about smoothies would be the sort of thing she would have done. So that and it's a really interesting lyric, and the rhythm of how she sings it in that first verse, I really like. I hope it uses proper backing singers rather than the backing track because I want to hear actual backing singers sincerely sing the lyric "Drink smoothies in cafes." I think that would be a moment for the contest. And then you've got the chorus, "Do good, be good," thing, and again, it's good. And again, I've written down here, it's sort of almost Bond theme-esque when that, "Do good, be good, look good," or well, probably got those in the wrong order, but it sort of reminds me of a Bond theme in that way. Um, and then the second verse is just absolutely nothing like the first in terms of structure, singing, anything. It's completely different. Um, I suppose I'm a bit of a traditionalist, and I would say that I prefer the first verse to the second verse, or what they've done with the second verse, and then it goes back to the chorus, and it neatly rounds up at the end with that sort of end piano bit, sort of going back to the beginning, to sort of round it all up, which is quite nice. It's an interesting one. It's a really interesting one. I need to find a better word than interesting, but it's unusual. That's a word. Um, Compared to what else is going on in the contest. And it's very different from what's going on with the other female artists in the contest. It's nowhere near the sort of up tempo. I don't want to say Yaz Queen bop because I'm nowhere near young enough to use that phrase. And I'm not even sure I know what a Yaz Queen bop is anyway. But it's not like France and Israel and the UK and, dare I say it, Sweden or Norway or Austria. It doesn't quite fit into those molds, but also it's nowhere near ballady enough to be Bridges, the Estonian entry, for example. But equally, it's not guitar-y enough to be the Netherlands entry. So where do you place this song? Because it's a very different one. And again, it could be the fact of this could be the thing that makes it stand out. Sorry, I was just checking what semi-final it was in because once again, I should have done my research before we started, but I didn't because I'm not very good at this. And it's in semi-final two in the first half. So as I've said in a couple of other videos, we think semi-final two is the weaker one. So could you find 5 or 6 songs worse than this to qualify, for Armenia to qualify? Yeah, I think you could. Because again, it's again, I feel like I've said this about a couple of the songs. This is a song juries would like, but I'm not sure whether phone voters would pick up the phone for it. It's more interesting than the Greek entry. if I had to choose, I'd pick up the phone for the Armenian entry than I would the Greek entry, um, because it's such an unusual song and it's such an unusual lyric, particularly at the start. Um, and it's one of those ones that you could do a lot of big staging with, a lot of dark staging, I would imagine. Um, the other thing I've written down, and it's nothing to do with the song; it's the video. The CGI is pretty poor in that video. Um, And it reminded me of again, this is a very UK heavy reference, but it reminded me of the game show Nightmare. Nightmare was, again, for anyone from around the world, was a children's game show where you were in a virtual reality world, very early CGI in the late 80s, that someone walked through a virtual reality world, and those bells used to try and knock you off as you were walking along a fake balance beam. And it reminded me of Nightmare quite a bit, but that's, again, by the by. Um, th- I think this is a strong song. Again, it's hopefully she'll perform it well on the night. I think she's got a lovely voice, um, and again, it just starts off in such an interesting way that I hope it hooks people's attention, that maybe they can look past what's going on in the second verse. I will give it. So eight out of 10. Yeah. And the other thing I've written down, and I'm going to show it. Again, my handwriting is terrible. Is this is not a bad year. Um, we heard so much negativity at the start of the campaign this year that that this was going to be a bad year, and I don't think this is. I think there's so many good songs here. There's I know we're hanging medals round one singer's neck already, but for the rest of the contest, this is a very, very strong set of songs this year. And I think hopefully people are a bit more positive once we've got all 37 songs in the bank. Um, where do I think this song will finish in the final? If it gets to the final, which I think it will. Um, I think mid to lower end of the table, but I think it will qualify. Um, but yeah, um, yeah. I just think the quality of song this year is. I think what's happened is that people weren't getting the national final results they were expecting, and the predicted winners in certain countries weren't winning, and everyone thought this was going to be terrible. But actually, I think there are so many good songs in this year's contest, and I, for one, am looking forward to it. Do you agree? Do you disagree? If not, like, share, comment, please subscribe. I've only got 65 subscribers, so who cares what my opinion is? But I really like hearing all your opinions and thoughts. So, direct from Liverpool, the home of the 2023 Eurovision Song Contest, this is Pete from Euroversity saying, I'll see you soon. Bye bye.